Alrighty, so today's video, we're gonna take a look at the Ronin SC2. I've had a little more than a week to work with this gimbal, take it on a couple of shoots with me, and I gotta say, this is probably my most favorite gimbal of the two that were just released. And I think it's the one that's gonna appeal to the most amount of people since it's priced at a pretty decent price point in comparison to other gimbals on the market. Let's get started. Hey, what's good everybody? Ken here, you're watching OriginaldoBo, and today we're taking our first look at the Ronin SC2. So I'm gonna take the same approach with this video and go from a person who shoots real estate videos, walkthroughs, but this video can really apply to almost anything. Smoothness of shots really depends on the person who's operating the gimbal. Not so much the gimbal, but the gimbal can definitely make your life a little bit easier with certain things that it does do. And there's a lot that the Ronin SC2 does really well. So let's first off talk about the improved payload capacity. The capacity of this gimbal is now 6.5 pounds, which is pretty damn impressive. Not only is it 6.5 pounds, they have made it easier to balance more types of camera and lens combinations than they did before. Previously with the Ronin SC, you just couldn't balance very long lenses, and with this setup here with this drop back, you can really balance some pretty heavy setups. You can also pull way back on the tilted plate here, which is pretty awesome. Now this combination here is Fuji X-T4 and a 16 to 55 millimeter lens, and it's not the lightest setup and it's not the most balanceable, I guess. This lens weighs a lot in comparison to the camera, so it can pose some challenges, but it balanced this out actually really well, and it didn't take very long to balance it. Now when I'm going through doing houses, I'm typically using a 9mm Laowa, so the exact opposite. That's more of a use case of where the lens doesn't weigh a lot but the camera does, so again, balancing things is really crucial. Now they did go ahead and improve the locking mechanisms on here, so it does make balancing this very simple. And one thing that they did do on this particular unit is this lock here is a little bit more prominent than the lock that's on the Ronin S2, which I like. So again, with the Ronin S2, I kept finding myself accidentally trying to unlock it with a bolt. And yeah, this is definitely a little bit more prominent and easy to click, which just works better for me. Now the plate is a little bit more traditional as well, as to where the Ronin S2, you have sort of this precision slider. This is all on you. I don't know which one I really like. From a speed convenience, I feel like this works better for me if I'm trying to do things quick, but if I'm trying to do things precise, the Ronin S2 does work a little bit better in that regard. The quick release plate is identical from the Ronin S2 to the Ronin SC2, so you can hot swap them back and forth. But let's talk about one of the coolest changes that they did make to the Ronin SC2, and it's not the underslung mode. Let's talk about this LCD screen. So this LCD screen and menu system is really super simplistic, and it's also really easy to navigate, which makes using the SC2 that much more of a joy. Now on the Ronin S2, you have a touchscreen, a capacitive colored touchscreen, which I accidentally would click as I'm going through a house, or the touchscreen wasn't as sensitive as I would hope it to be. And it also made navigating the menu systems a little bit more finicky. With the Ronin SC, you have a little scroll dial on the left-hand side, which makes navigating and clicking through the menus really easy. Just scroll and press in on the scroll wheel, and that's going to select the option and confirm. And then you have a dedicated back button to get you out of that menu system, which is really convenient. They also improved the joystick, made it a little bit slimmer. It just fits in the thumb palm. I don't know if that's a thing, the thumb palm, but it just fits really nice. And the mode and record buttons work just the way they should. Super tactile and really clicky and super responsive. I find myself making a lot less accidental presses on the SC2 than I did on the Ronin S2. On the front here, you do have 3 USB ports. They are USB-C ports, and you can connect different adapters along with charger camera or control stop record. This also works with Raven Eye or any follow focus that you want to connect. There is a scroll wheel on the front of here for the follow focus, again in that perfectly ergonomical spot. It works with focus, or if you have power zoom lenses from Sony, you can use that to zoom, which is pretty convenient. Alrighty, let's talk about this underslung mode, because I think that this is probably one of the biggest selling points of this gimbal. The underslung mode is really interesting and works incredibly well. If you just simply unlock this all the way back, you can then pop the top on the gimbal by pulling back on it, which reveals the underslung mode. And then you can just simply go back and locks it into place. Now this is done very well and super durable. There is a nice ribbon cable underneath here that folds and exposes itself as you open the top of this gimbal. I was really fearful of this because I thought it was going to be super fragile, but in experience in this, it's not fragile at all. It's built like a brick shithouse, which is pretty impressive. Now in practice, I found myself using this underslung mode in bathrooms, and any shots where I had to do a pull-up or walking up staircases, it works really, really well. I used to love this on the Weebill S, but the problem with the Weebill S was it would just periodically lose its mind and spin out of control. But as you can see in some of these clips, the Ronin SC didn't do that. It, like a boss, immediately organized the camera in the correct orientation to start filming in underslung mode, almost effortlessly and smoothly, which I thought was pretty impressive. Now, I've talked a lot about the good about this gimbal, but there are some negatives about this gimbal that we do need to go over. Firstly, the battery is non-removable. You do get 15 hours of use out of this gimbal, but it is non-removable. And because the battery is non-removable, I find it's not quite as compact as my previous Ronin SC, where I can take it apart and break the gimbal up into my suitcase or backpack really easily. This doesn't do that quite as conveniently. And then the last negative about this is the fact that we don't get that capacitive touchscreen. We do lose out on some of those cool menu systems that you get with the Ronin S2, but that's just a small gripe in the long run of things. But all in all, this is the gimbal that I find myself gravitating towards. It is smaller, it weighs just as much as the Ronin S2. It does just as much, and it does just as much as well. It doesn't look quite as cool, but then you throw it into underslung mode and you have an entirely different animal. So for what it's worth, I think that this is the gimbal that most people probably should buy at $499. It's a better value across the board and can support a wide range of cameras, with the exception of cinema cameras, and you're going to get really silky smooth shots out of it. But there you go. If you guys want to know more, or you want to know about the settings that I am using on this gimbal, you may have saw the little 15 in the bottom there. I use pan follow, and I set the speed to 15 and the smoothing set to high. And for me, that's what's working great about this. And again, the menu's super simple, so you don't really have to dig through things to get it to work. But give that a try if you do get this gimbal. And if you want to pick one of these up, we do have them in stock. You can check the link in the description below and pick one up for yourself. There you go. We'll be doing some more videos on this very soon. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you didn't, I mean, come on, like, why you dislike a video? What the fuck's wrong with you? Stay original.